All right. So you're listening because you want to know how Singapore, became like an economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't blame you. Who wouldn't be fascinated by it?
Right.
It's this tiny island. I mean, it's smaller than New York City.
Wow.
And it has a GDP per capita that rivals the UK and even the US.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And so today we're taking a look at this article
Okay.
from Investor. It's called Singapore's Path to Success, from a colonial port to a global powerhouse.
Okay.
That's a mouthful.
It is.
But basically what we want to do is figure out how they did it.
It really is a remarkable transformation.
It is.
In just a few decades, I mean,
Right.
it defies conventional wisdom about how you achieve economic success.
Yeah, and you think about the fact that Singapore gained its independence in 1965,
Right.
and they had almost no natural resources to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, not really the most promising start.
Not ideal, no.
How did they overcome that? I mean, it seems like such an obstacle.
Well, I think what's really interesting here is that they took what seemed like a weakness, right?
Yeah.
And they turned it into a strength.
Okay.
So their location, right? They're nestled between the Indian and the South China Sea, makes them the perfect spot
Right.
to be a global shipping hub.
So they played the cards they were dealt.
Exactly.
But was that enough? I mean, lots of places have great location.
Sure, yeah.
It doesn't guarantee anything.
Of course, location alone isn't enough.
Right.
But this is where Lee Kuan Yew comes in.
Oh.
He was Singapore's first prime minister, a very visionary leader.
Yeah.
And he knew that to get foreign investment, they needed more than just geography.
Right. So what did he do?
He focused on building an environment that would allow businesses not just to survive, but to thrive.
Okay.
Stability was key.
Got it.
So a really robust financial and legal system, efficient public transportation,
Yeah.
and world-class healthcare.
Oh, so they were really like making it attractive,
Exactly.
rolling out the red carpet for these businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about laying the foundation for long-term success,
No.
an ecosystem that would be really appealing to international players.
Yeah.
And at first, they focused on attracting labor-intensive industries.
Right, to deal with the unemployment.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing that wasn't like the end goal.
No, you're right.
It was just step one.
It was a critical first step,
Right.
but, they had much bigger goals in mind.
Okay.
They wanted to create a more sophisticated economy, and that's what led them in the 1980s to shift towards becoming a global financial center.
Wow, that's a pretty big change.
It is.
How did they convince the world to take them seriously?
Well, they didn't try to reinvent the wheel.
Oh.
They looked at the most successful financial centers.
Okay.
Places like the US and the UK.
Right.
And they adapted those models to their own circumstances.
Okay.
But then they went even further. They really aggressively went after investors with policies that made them unique.
Yeah, and I bet those business-friendly tax policies helped to
Absolutely.
attract all that global capital.
Huge factor.
And that must have been like a rocket booster for their growth.
It really was.
I mean, it just sent a message to the world,
Oh,
for
sure.
sure. Like, Singapore's open for business, and we're going to make it really easy and profitable for you to work here.
Exactly.
But all this growth, I mean, it couldn't have come without its challenges, right?
You're absolutely right.
Everything has a flip side.
Yeah,
I mean, there's got to be some thorns on this rose, right?
exactly. And Singapore's economic miracle did raise some questions about the balance between economic goals and individual liberties.
So their approach, I mean, it was successful, but not without its critics.
Yeah.
I wonder if that tension between control and freedom,
Right.
was it really necessary for their economic success?
Well, that's a question that people still debate.
Yeah.
It's really complex. There are good arguments on both sides. But perhaps even more pressing were the social pressures that came with this rapid wealth creation.
Right. The article mentioned that rising housing prices,
Yeah.
cost of living,
Yeah.
these became like major concerns
Of course.
for Singaporeans.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So much change so quickly.
Yeah.
Must created a lot of anxiety.
Exactly. And then you have this influx of foreign workers,
Right.
which was, crucial to their economy, but it also caused some anxieties about jobs,
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah. People worried about being pushed out.
Exactly.
So it wasn't just about growing the economy.
Right.
It was about managing the social impact
Exactly.
of all that growth.
Yeah.
Did they find a way to make sure everyone was benefiting?
I mean, they made a lot of effort
Okay.
to address those concerns. They put policies in place to deal with affordable housing,
Okay.
to provide skills training for the locals, to
Right.
manage the flow of foreign workers coming in.
Yeah.
But, this is a complex issue. Finding a perfect solution, one that makes everyone happy, is an ongoing challenge.
Right.
It's a constant balancing act.
It really sounds like even with all the planning and all the good execution, there are just going to be some trade-offs
Yeah.
and maybe some consequences
Right.
that you just don't expect
Happens all the time.
and that you have to manage.
Right, and those challenges just get tougher as the world changes around you.
Right.
And for Singapore, the need to adapt, to keep evolving, well, it became even more urgent as they entered a new chapter.
Okay.
A new era of leadership, really.
Yeah, so in 2023, Lee Hsien Loong, he stepped down
Yeah.
after like 2 decades
Yeah.
leading the country, and he handed things over to Lawrence Wong.
Yeah, and Wang, I mean, he'd become pretty well known
Yeah.
for, leading Singapore through COVID.
Right.
And from what I've read, it seems like he's got this reputation for
Oh.
being,
Yeah.
a little more inclusive, maybe a little
Yeah.
more focused on social issues. Yeah, that's the general perception, I think,
Uh-huh.
that he's kind of shifting things a little. A
Yeah.
subtle change, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's definitely this expectation that he's going to really try to bridge that gap
Okay.
between the elite and the working class.
Right, and make sure everyone benefits from Singapore's success.
That's the idea.
That sounds like a pretty tough job, though.
It is, yeah.
I mean, especially because he's also got to deal with
Right,
all those other challenges we talked about,
of course.
like rising housing costs,
yeah.
the aging population,
Mhm.
climate change.
It's a lot.
It is.
We're any leader, really.
Yeah, but if you look back at Singapore's history, I mean, they've been pretty good at tackling these seemingly,
Yeah,
impossible problems.
they have.
And they've always been so strategic.
They are very good at planning.
Yeah, like thinking ahead
Yes.
about the future.
And planning for it.
It's like they saw what was coming with, Asia, and they were like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we're going to build a playground for
You-
the ultra-rich.
It was a smart move, no doubt.
It was.
They saw the growth in China and India,
Yeah.
all that new wealth,
Yeah,
and they were like, all right,
let's get a piece of that.
we need to become a magnet for this.
Okay.
So they poured resources into these huge land reclamation projects. They
Right.
built those incredible integrated resorts, with the casinos,
Yeah.
the entertainment complexes.
Yeah.
They even got the Formula One night race.
I mean, it's crazy, the transformation.
Impressive.
I mean, they just like willed this
Yeah.
vision of luxury and excitement
Yeah.
into existence.
And to being.
And it worked, right?
It did.
I mean, the article talked about this huge increase in
Yeah.
assets under management.
Oh, the numbers they're pretty staggering.
Yeah.
From $420 billion in 2004
But,
to $3.6 trillion
wow,
by 2022.
that's incredible.
It is, but you know what's really interesting here?
That's that.
It's not just the growth, it's what it tells us about their approach.
Oh, okay.
They're really good at anticipating global trends
Yeah.
and then positioning themselves to take advantage of them. I mean, they
Yeah.
didn't just react to the rise of Asia.
Right.
They were proactive.
Yeah.
They made themselves essential
Right.
to that growth.
So it's not about just reacting. It's
Yeah.
about being
Exactly.
ahead of the curve,
That's it.
making bold moves.
Yep.
It makes you wonder what they'll do next.
It does.
Right.
Yeah. But as we said, this success has come with trade-offs.
Right.
That control over civil liberties.
That tension
Right.
between order and freedom.
Exactly. It's a tricky one.
It is, but I mean, would you say that strong,
Yeah.
centralized approach has helped them?
I mean, it's definitely part of the story.
Right.
It's contributed to their stability and their growth, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a model that a lot of countries,
Okay.
especially ones that are dealing with instability or threats from outside,
Yeah.
they find it very appealing.
Okay.
But of course, there are also concerns
Right.
about suppressing dissent,
Yeah.
about limiting freedoms.
It's tough. There's no easy answers.
There really aren't.
And then you have the social pressures
Oh, of course.
that come with all that growth,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
The rising cost of living,
Big one.
housing in particular.
Huge issue for a lot of Singaporeans.
Yeah, and all those foreign workers,
Right.
while they've been crucial to the economy,
They have.
it's also created this anxiety about jobs,
For sure. Yeah.
right?
Competition and displacement.
People feeling pushed out.
Exactly.
So how is Singapore trying to balance all of that?
Well, they're working on it.
Okay.
They've put a lot of policies in place to
Wow.
try and, ease those pressures.
Oh, okay.
Things like affordable housing initiatives,
Mm-hmm.
skills training programs for locals,
Right.
measures to control the flow of foreign workers.
So it's like constant juggling act.
Absolutely. And there's always that risk that
Yeah.
some people are going to feel left behind.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
It is.
That even in a place as successful as Singapore,
Yeah,
they still struggle with this,
of course.
balancing economic growth with making sure everyone's taken care of.
Like, it's a fundamental tension
Yeah.
that pretty much every nation is dealing with.
Right, especially now,
Especially now.
with globalization and technology changing everything.
Right. And for Singapore, this is even more complicated because
Yeah.
their population is aging so rapidly.
Right, that brings a whole other set of issues.
It does.
Expand.
Pressure on healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
social safety nets,
Yeah.
a shrinking workforce.
What are they doing about that?
Well, they're exploring a few things. They're
Yeah.
trying to encourage, active aging, investing in elder care services,
Right.
promoting lifelong learning
Okay.
so older workers can stay engaged,
Right.
stay productive.
But it's a big challenge.
It is. It requires creative solutions,
Yeah.
long-term thinking.
So they've got like a triple threat:
You could say that.
social equity,
Mm.
demographic shifts,
Yeah.
and of
That's,
course,
of course,
climate change.
looming.
Large.
How Singapore,
Right.
as an island nation,
Yeah.
approaching that?
They're taking it very seriously.
Okay.
They know that climate change, I mean, this isn't just an environmental issue.
Right.
It's about national security,
Oh.
the economy,
Mhm.
society, everything, really.
So they're not like just waiting around hoping
Yeah.
someone else will fix it.
Yeah.
They're actually taking steps
Yeah, they're very proactive.
to protect themselves.
Right.
What are they actually doing?
Well, they've invested a lot in coastal defenses
Okay.
because, rising sea levels are a big threat.
Yeah.
They get that.
Right.
They're also doing a lot with sustainable urban planning,
Okay.
promoting green technologies,
Right.
and they're really active in those international climate agreements.
So it's kind of like a multi-pronged
approach. Yeah, which makes sense.
Right. I mean, it's a complicated problem.
Very complex.
With all this, it must be expensive, right?
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like they understand that doing nothing
Right.
would cost even more
Right. Right.
in the long run.
So it's like a calculated risk
Yeah,
that this investment today
exactly.
pay off
Down the line.
later.
Yeah, both for their economy
Right.
and for their survival.
It's crazy how this tiny island nation
Yeah.
is facing these like massive global challenges.
It is.
But they seem determined not just to survive,
Yeah.
but to really thrive.
I think that's what's so remarkable about Singapore.
Yeah.
They don't back down from challenges.
No.
They face them head on.
Yeah. And they do it with this combination of
Okay.
pragmatism,
Right.
long-term thinking,
Yeah.
and this willingness to adapt.
And it's worked
He has.
so far, right?
Yeah. I mean, look,
They went from this
it did.
resource-poor colonial port
Yep.
to a global economic powerhouse.
In just a few decades.
It's unbelievable.
It really is an amazing story.
Yeah, it is.
Such a nation building.
It really makes you wonder what's
Yeah.
the secret?
Right. What's the magic formula?
What are they doing right?
I mean, there are a few things.
Okay.
For one, they've consistently had strong leadership,
Okay.
leaders who can not only set a vision,
Right.
but also execute it.
So it's not just about the plan.
No.
It's about the discipline
Yeah.
to see it through.
Absolutely. And being willing to change the plan
Right.
when things change.
Yeah.
They've been really good at that,
Yeah.
seeing the challenges coming
Yeah.
and adapting.
Very strong leadership.
Right.
Long-term planning,
Mhm.
adaptability.
Right.
But I feel like there's something more too, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Like maybe it's
Yeah.
something about their culture.
I think you're onto something there.
Okay.
It's not just about policies and systems.
Right.
It's the people.
Okay.
There's this culture of excellence, of hard work,
Yeah.
this real sense of collective responsibility.
So it's a mix of
It is.
top-down planning,
Right.
but also that bottom-up
Yeah,
drive
exactly.
that's pushed them forward.
That's the recipe.
But it makes me think about the challenges they're facing now.
Mm-hmm.
Can this model really be sustainable?
A great question.
Right. Especially
Yeah.
with all the social and environmental pressures.
The world is changing fast.
It really is.
And that's what makes Singapore's story so interesting.
Right.
It's not like a fairy tale,
No.
with a happy ending.
It's not over yet.
It's still being written.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing experiment.
Right.
They're constantly evolving.
And everyone's watching.
The whole world is watching.
That's a lot of pressure.
It is.
But it's also a huge opportunity.
Right. If they can do this.
If they can find that balance,
Exactly.
they could be a model
for everyone.
for the whole world.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It's like they're writing the next chapter
They are.
right now in real time,
And we get to watch.
and we can learn from it.
Exactly.
It's going to be fascinating
It will be.
to see where they go.
I can't wait to see what they do next.
I agree. And I think there's a lot we can learn. There
It's
is
just-
from
There's a
Singapore,
lot to take away.
whether we're talking about,
Yeah.
countries,
Countries,
organizations,
businesses,
even just individuals
individuals
trying to figure out,
navigating the
this
world.
crazy world.
Yeah, exactly.
Their story is a reminder
It is.
that even when you don't have a lot,
Yeah.
even when you face
Right.
big, big challenges,
Mm-hmm.
you can still achieve amazing things
You can.
if you have the right
Think-
vision, the right
Mm-hmm.
determination,
Determination
and that willingness to adapt.
to change with the times.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a question to
Okay.
think about.
Okay.
What parts of Singapore's story
Yeah.
really resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
What lessons do you take away from it?
Yeah.
And how can those lessons,
Yeah.
help you in your own life?
Inform your choices.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good question.
It is.
Because in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
Singapore's story is really like a reflection of the challenges
Right.
all of us are facing.
As humans.
As humans,
Yeah.
their successes,
Yeah.
their struggles, their journey, they offer real insights
Correct.
into how we build a better future.
A future that's, prosperous,
Prosperous,
sustainable, equitable for everyone. Well,
thank you.
really appreciate you joining me today
It's been a pleasure.
for this deep dive into the world of Singapore.
Fascinating place.
It is. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep learning
and keep pushing the boundaries
of what's possible.
of what's possible. See you next time.